Hi, I'm Old Norse Specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford. In this video on my Patreon and Ko-Fi supported series of videos in Norse language, myth, and runes, I want to take a quick look at the many alternative names for Þórr that are used in Norse Eddic poetry, and that the original language reader, or really original hearer of the poem, would have been expected to just understand as referring to Þórr. Now, it's fairly well known that Odin has tons of names, which he lists at the end of the poem, Grimnismal, and I've done a whole video about that. But Thor also has tons of names, and it seems like we are just supposed to know that these refer to Thor, and very little in the way of explanation is ever given for most of them. Now, the one that you will see the absolute most is Hlorriri, which Anatoly Lieberman has suggested actually etymologically means pig rider, and that appears to be right. That's interesting because it suggests that there is a long lost myth of Thor riding a pig, maybe even specifically Gullinbursti, the golden board that's now, I say now, in our canonical literature, the Eddas associated with the god Þórr and his sister Freyja. But we don't know that. It's kind of like how the name Tyr is etymologically related to Zeus. Doesn't mean that we can absolutely say that he was once a figure similar to Zeus at the top of a pantheon. We can just say the name's related. We just have to kind of shrug and say, well, that's interesting. This name seems to mean pig rider, but it is used all the time, all over the Poetic Edda, to mean Þór. So, for example, in Thrymskvida, Loki asks Thrymr, who has stolen Thor's hammer, Hefur þú Hlorrida hamar fólgin? Have you hidden Hlorridi's hammer? So notice there that it is being used because it alliterates with two other words that start with H in that stanza, Hefur and Hamar. But Hlorridi is such a common name of Thor that it isn't always used in alliterative context, and it can even be used in prose. For example, by Snorri Sturluson in his Prose Edda. Although Snorri is so often quoting poems that, it may just be because he's quoting a poem that that name was used in. Still, it's something that Snorri assumes that his prose audience will be able to identify as referring to Thor. I'm going to give you a quick word from my friends, partners, grandpas, for coming back to talk about a couple other frequent ways of referring to Thor. Out of the Poetic Edda, you'll see very quickly that four gods are mentioned the most: Odin, Loki, Thor, and Freyja. And all of these are very often referred to by their family members, right? Because a family member's name might alliterate with the word that we need to alliterate with in the poetic stanza. Remember that Old Norse poetry is always obligatorily alliterative. So Thor might be called Odin's sonur, or Odin's bur. Bur is an alternative word for son that's very common in poetry. So is mogar is an alternative word for son in poetry. Or to get some extra alliteration, we might call him Síðgrana sonur, right? Son of Longbeard, using an alternative name for Odin there that clearly references his long gray beard. Thor may be referred to as the father of his sons, right? So he is Móða father or Magna father. He's also called Mela brother, and we don't know who Meli is, but that would be Meli's brother. He's called Sivjar Ver, so husband of Siv, and he is also extremely often referred to as the son of his mother, Jarðar bur, Earth's son. One additional thing I missed in this video that I wanted to mention, get in there, is a potential early name of Þór, based on the fact that his mother's name is Fjörgyn, is Fjörgyn, but with two N's. I have a whole video that talks about this name and its Indo-European connections. I'm going to show you what that video looks like so that you can search for it. Of course, I'd like you to. You know, these videos aren't meant to last for just 20 seconds, which is all the attention that the YouTube algorithm will give them. So go check that video out if you want to see a pretty interesting linguistic fossil hunt about what exactly is going on with that name. He may also be referenced not by a family member, but by someone he has killed. So, for example, as Hrungnis Bani, killer of Hrungnir, the stone-headed Jotun. That Snorri tells of his killing in Skaldskaparmál, the second part of the prose edda. That name is used in the Poetic Edda and Lokasenna at least, so shows that the poet of Lokasenna knew that story too. Another term that we see for Þór, another really an alternative name, is Veur, which appears to be derived from ve, meaning a holy, sacred place, a shrine, or just, you know, place of religious dedication one way or the other. Maybe not a constructed shrine, but a natural place of religious veneration. So Veur would appear to be like the one of the Ve, maybe you know, the dweller in the sacred place, or more likely, given Thor's role as a protective figure, the protector of the sacred space. And in fact, in Völuspá at least, he is called Mithgar's Veur. That would seem to be the defender of Midgard, or even if you really want to derive this from Ve, defender of like the holy spaces on Midgard. So Þór is not as notoriously referenced by many different names as Odin. And all these different names that he uses don't seem to be as intentionally deceptive or tricky as Odin's, right? Odin, as a god of poets, wants to play with language, right? He wants you to play with language in referring to him. Þór is just more plainly described by his role, you know, defender, protector, by his family connections, son of Earth, son of Odin, father of Modi, Magni, or just with these mysterious ancient alternative names like Hlorriri, right? Pig rider, whatever exactly that's from, the name stuck and is used for him all the time. Well, I really appreciate the folks out there who support these videos on Patreon, Ko-Fi, Coffee, however you say it. Folks buying my books, such as my translation of the Poetic Edda, where I should point out, when these alternative names of gods come up, I just translate them by the best known name. So like if I see Hlorriri, it's always translated as Thor in that book, because the point of that book is to help people who are trying to understand the contents of the poems. It's not supposed to be like a study guide for the Old Norse text. Something like that would be my text of the Wanderer's Hávamál, which has the facing page, Old Norse text, and some commentary on the Old Norse text. Appreciate the folks out there buying these books. Appreciate those of you in my Old Norse class getting into more mythical readings now. I was actually preparing those students for reading mythical poetry that made me come up with this topic for a video. And I'll start another quote-unquote semester of the Old Norse class shortly, probably in late May, so watch for an announcement about that. There will be tickets on Eventbrite. And anyway, just appreciate you folks for your kindness and patience. And from beautiful Colorado, please know, even if you complain about my volume, I am wishing you all the best.